The Kamuzu Banda introduced what was called the League of Malawi Youth, as well as the Malawi Young Pioneers. In both cases, although the idea of development was worked into the origins of both the League of Malawi Youth and Malawi Young Pioneers, in a sense they were also like a politicization of the youth. So whilst of course they did engage in activities that were supposed to contribute towards the development of the country, they were also viewed as political agents. The one thing that I tried to extract from the Kamuzu Banda era that has worked its way into the efforts I've been involved in was a thing that was called the Youth Week. During that era, the Malawi Young Pioneers, who became the most visible, the League of Malawi Youth kind of disappeared somewhat, but they were more involved in things like they had their pioneer bases, and they did agricultural work, they did artisans, things, carpentry, whatnot. They were taught skills that could enable them to to thrive, especially given that in the majority of cases some of them could not move forward with sort of educational programs in the the academic route. So it was like you go to the technical skills. But there was also what was called Youth Week. And during Youth Week, what you had was, virtually everybody, schools, colleges, you name it, everyone, and the pioneers, of course, were involved, and the rest of the community. What they did during that week was, it was a week devoted towards fixing things within the communities, building bridges, putting up, clinics, refixing schools, also things. And in fact, virtually every area used to have a kind of a youth week committee, which would draw up the things that needed to be taken care of in those areas. And during the youth week, for that week, the youth were, engaged in, as it were, building the nation in the very literal sense of, of building a bridge here, building a school here, building, right across the nation. And to a certain extent, it was that, aspect that I've pirated. Namely, get the youth to contribute to, this community, to the country, all right, but remove the political affiliations from all that, because there is a difference between membership to a political party and chasing ideology that go with a political party, and as it were national development. Right. Very bluntly, if you put up a hospital, when a person goes to the hospital, you don't ask which political party they belong to. All right. And the point is that or what religion they practice and things of that kind. You want to treat the person, they belong to the country, they're citizens, you want to make sure that they've got good health. By the same token, the schools, one feels that the schools should should have that degree of openness. You want your youth to to have decent education, and that should be independent of what political beliefs they may they may subscribe to, what religious affiliations they may find themselves involved in, and all that kind of stuff. And so my feeling on this that when I started off, for example, in Nkhorakota, the thing and Nkhorakota is a good example because it's one of the districts in Malawi which has throughout most of its history had a reasonable balance in sort of religious orientation between Muslims and Christians. And so it was one of the areas where the whole idea of being of service to your places of worship would very easily begin to address the question of, okay, what counts as your place of worship? In a community where you have mosques and churches, all right, can you bring the Christians to help cut the grass at a mosque? Can you bring the Muslim kids to go and cut the grass with their Christian friends at a church? In other words, can you say this is now our heritage, and maintenance of our facilities is part of our local, property? What image we present of our area is not going to be predicated on whether and after all, when you get on the soccer field, we are playing together. And I told them, I said, look, you've been playing there, and the uniforms that you wore, you don't know what religion the people who donated that practice. They didn't ask me what religion you practice. Right. What they knew is that you are helping your community, and they donated. So the idea is, if we're going to build a nation, having differences of opinion, whether it's to do with politics, to do with religion, to do with diet, to do with whatever, all right, is always going to be part of what makes a society. That does not get in the way of our being able to identify ourselves, as being one people.